Welcome to Blender Frenzy. I am Justin, and we are looking at the VSE, or the Video Sequence Editor, in Blender 4.5, which just dropped. So let's get started. Obviously, you can go to blender.org in order to download the latest release of Blender, which is 4.5 LTS, and if you know, LTS stands for long-term support. It'll be supported for a couple of years with bug fixes and updates. No new features, but definitely a lot of stability. So you can download it from blender.org and then head on over to developer.blender.org, go to docs, and then release notes to go to the current Blender LTS release, which is 4.5 right here. And of course, this is the video editing portion, so you can look at all of these, but we are going to go to Video Sequencer, and this is going to be a semi-discover mode. I already did look at this before 4.5 was actually released. It was still in beta, but I've kind of forgotten a lot of it already, so we're going to go through and you're going to discover it alongside me right now. So let's look at the first. So we got performance. Video auto rotation is now faster. Various parts related to color space conversions are now faster. Okay, so I'm not going to really test that. It's just saying that this stuff is now faster, which is nice. Okay, so now we have user interface. So we've got preview, added snapping support for the 2D cursor in the preview. That's pretty cool. Let's check that out. So here in Blender, I'm just going to hit video editing, and I'm going to just collapse this area. Okay, and then hovering over the preview, we can press T to open and close this tool menu here. Let's click the 2D cursor, and then we can set it here. And you have to actually click and drag. But you can see it's actually snapping, it looks like, is on by default. So we can snap it right into the middle. That's really cool. Or go along the horizon or the vertical line here. And then, of course, looks like on the edges as well. If we use our scroll wheel to scroll out a little bit, I want to still do that. So I'm just left clicking and holding. So you can see what that's doing here for the snapping. Now it looks like snapping is automatically enabled. And we can say, okay, snap to borders, centers, and other strips. So we'll test that out when we get some strips in here, but I'm going to see if I disable this. I wonder if it's the same. Okay, so this is just, it's not snapping now, but if I hold down Control, okay, see, I like this. I like it not snapping, and then if I want it to snap, then I can just, while I'm clicking and dragging, hold down Control. So yeah, I really like that. That's cool. I don't know why it's not displaying that. Maybe if I, okay, here we go. So display up here. Now it just displays the 2D cursor. If I hold down Shift, it goes a little bit slower to more accurate. Then if I just hold it down and then Control, it'll snap. So we can get that right in the center. I like that much better. Previously, we had to, if we press N, we come over here to the tool, the cursor. Actually, it's not there. It looks like, okay, 2D cursor location. Here I would have to do, and I guess right now it's 0, 0. They must have changed this too, because this used to be 0.5. Like right in the middle, but it looks like now it's maybe a bit more consistent with Blender and maybe more intuitive because 0, 0 is in the center. 0, 0 used to be down here in the left bottom corner. So that is really cool. All right, let's go back. Added support for HDR in the sequencer preview. Okay, so high dynamic range. I don't really have anything to test that with. I wonder if we can just go here what this is going to say. Okay, so now it's unclamped. So it was clamped at 0 to 1 range. Now it's unclamped sRGB, similar to how the image editor viewport and node's backdrop works. Okay, so it's the most visible user side change is the removal of the backdrop in the sequencer timeline. So previously, you could actually have the backdrop be like behind your strips, which I never used because, I mean, you have the preview up here. So I never really understood that. In fact, the compositor had this, and I never used that either. I actually made my own, like I can see the image editor on a different area and not have it as the backdrop when I'm moving my nodes. It drove me crazy seeing that on the backdrop. So that was here. I guess they removed that to support the HDR. I don't know how all that works together, but there you go. Mute and unmute strip operators now work in preview mode. What, did they not before? Okay, so let's test that out. We got to get some strips in here. So I'm going to just drag my last thumb here that I had. And okay, so I can actually hide. Well, maybe not. I can hide it or mute and unmute strip. So that's mute, unmute. Do I have to have the tweak mode activated here? I can click and drag it and then snap. I like that. I like the snapping feature a lot. But why can't I hide and unhide or mute and unmute? M? Nope. It's usually either H or M. Strip, transform, show hide, hide selected. Okay. Lock mute. Mute strips. So I have it at H and double H. I've changed my shortcut keys, but it should be H to hide and then Alt H to unhide. But it doesn't look like that translates up here. That there's no hotkey for it. So here we have lock or mute, and we have all these options. So lock strips or mute strips. So mute and unmute strips. It looks like here they actually do have, by default it looks like they do have that. It's probably because I changed my shortcut keys that they don't have that shortcut key for the H, but still show hidden strips might just show all of them. Well, let's just test it out. Just for the sake of ease, I'm just going to duplicate this a couple of times here, and then we'll just scale, rotate, whatever. Okay, I'm curious. Okay, preferences. By the way, this is how you change your key map. I have it saved out already. I'll do another tutorial on this. I still need to mess around with it. I don't know if they've made it any better or easier, but just use the regular Blender one. So now if I do show hide, yeah, so these are now there. Let's see what these are. So yeah, so H, Alt H. Okay, so I'm just gonna do H to hide. Okay, that's good. So it's sort of user error on my end. So then Alt H will unhide that. But I'm curious if I select all of these and then do H to hide that, and then just select one of them and do Alt H. See, it unhides all of them, which is it's a little strange, because if I select all of these again and then hide them up here, but I only select one of them and do Alt H, it only unhides the one that I have selected, which makes sense. But if I do, see, I don't have any of these selected. I just have this one selected, and I do Alt H up here, it'll unhide everything. So I don't necessarily like that. It's a little bit wonky. I wish it would just be the same here and here. I mean, I'm not a coder and I'm not a developer, so I don't know how hard or difficult that would be to implement. But as a user, it's a bit having two different workflows or results for doing the same operation. Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but it's still cool that I can come up here and hide these like that from here. It is still pretty cool. Okay, next, added mirror operator strip images. What does this look like? Okay, without the change, let's watch the video here. Not working at all. With the change. Okay, what is the mirror operator? Okay, by default, Control M shortcut is not working in the VSE preview. Okay, so it was supposed to work, it just wasn't working. Okay, I have to be down here, Alt H. Okay, Control M, Control M. X. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, X. And I can just toggle that. And then Y. Okay, I can toggle that as well. So all I'm doing is Control M and then hit X or Y. It will mirror it accordingly. Okay, next, strip image pivot point can be changed without affecting image translation. This looks cool. I don't know how to do it, so let's take a look at that. I like how they have these videos now. This is like showing what's happening and how to like navigate and do these things. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you could do this before. So basically here we got the pivot point right in the middle of my nose. But if I rotate it, it's going to rotate it on the pivot point or the origin point as it is elsewhere in Blender. Originally, you could come down here to transform and then your origin point, and you could just move it. Of course, I guess maybe this is what they're talking about. Like it would move that translation there, which I don't remember that ever happening to me actually. So I don't know. Like other images that I had before, it didn't actually move the picture. So I don't know why it's doing it now. But now they're saying you can do that from here. Yeah, move origin. So control period. Control period. Does that okay? Maybe it's the numpad period. Huh? Is that not the right thing? Move origin, control, or is it just control? Control? No. Move origin. Okay. Well, it does work, you know, and then I can put it up here, and then now I can select this and then rotate it. Well, theoretically. Okay, now that's not working. Why is that not working? Okay, well, it looks like maybe it's a little bit buggy, unless my keyboard completely just stopped working. Let's test that. Text. Okay. Hello? Okay, yeah, so my keyboard just stopped working. Hello, it does. So why is all of a sudden my keyboard not working? Okay. I don't know. Okay, well, let's try this again then. Rotate. Okay. I have no idea what happened there. So, yeah, there we go. So we're rotating along the origin point now, which is up in the corner, which is good. Let's try that again then. I want to see the control. Maybe that's what happened, like the control period. I did something. Control period. No. Okay. What about the control period there? No. Yeah. Whatever control period does, it eliminates my ability to do stuff here in the preview area, and I don't know why. I think maybe it still thinks that I'm moving that, but it's not actually moving it. So if I do control period again, then it brings it out. Weird. I have no idea. But you can do Alt G, Alt R, Alt S to clear the rotation location and scale. Okay, so that was the preview user interface. Now the timeline user interface. Snapping is now enabled by default. Okay, I didn't know that it wasn't. That's just this here. So we've got the strips here, snapping. I didn't have snapping enabled by default. You know, and if you have snapping enabled, it's going to snap by default. You can see that white line that comes out over here, and you can kind of snap it like that. It's really easy. And then if you hit control, it will disable the snapping. But if snapping is disabled and you move, then it's disabled until you hit control, and then when you hit control. So I actually like it disabled, and then I like to press control to snap it, because I don't automatically want it to snap usually. Added snap to frame range option in the timeline. Okay, this patch adds the ability to snap to the frame range bounds in the VSE timeline on by default. End frame snap location is offset by 1 to ensure that the snap point aligns with the visible frame boundary. Otherwise, the right handle of the strip would be 1 frame short. Yes, because the frame that it's on here is the next frame. So if you go to the end of a strip, and actually I can just show you this. So let's Alt H. So if I go to the end of this strip, which is that page down? Page down. Nope, page up. You can see you don't see anything here. So I have to press the left arrow key back one because the end of this strip is on this frame, but you don't see anything because it's the next frame that it shows, which there's nothing on the next frame. So it's a little bit confusing. So when you actually want to end one of your videos on a visible frame, you have to actually go to the frame, the end of the strip, and then back one frame. Okay, so snap to frame range, so that the frame range here would be this area right here. So I can just, snap. Of course, I have to press Control because I don't have it on by default, but I like that. That's really cool. But of course, again, you have to. Well, let's see. Does that automatically? If I go to the end here and then I snap this. Okay, no. So you'd still have to go back one frame. Yeah, it's a little bit confusing sometimes with that. Okay, resizing the VSE now shows more channels and frames instead of stretching the existing view. I really like this. I mean, you can see what's happening here. What it used to do is it used to scale the timeline. So you can actually scale the timeline by holding Control and then middle mouse. And you can see how if I go up and down, it will scale it vertically. If I go left and right, it'll scale it horizontally. And I can just do it all at the same time. Well, that's sort of what it would do if I moved this. It would then scale it and squish this when I move this down. But now it doesn't. It just shows or hides it this way or this way. And here, same thing. If I did this, it would just scale this all in like this. And that was really super annoying. And so, especially if I hit N, that closes and opens the properties panel. Now this doesn't change. It's better for the visually because you don't have things bouncing back and forth. Okay, so automatic updates to frame rate or view transform settings when adding strips to a blank timeline are now supported in the status bar. Okay, so it just tells you what it's doing. It didn't tell you before. So if you imported a video that was a certain frame rate and then Blender automatically adapted to it, you wouldn't know. It just did it. So this is just saying that an automatic thing will come up. I'm not going to do that, I don't think. Well, let's try. Maybe I will. Pixabay videos. There we go. This is summertime. I like this one. We can download this. And of course, go ahead and say thanks to Konghyun8. You can go support this person on Pixabay if you want. Okay, just drag that in here and let's go ahead and, okay, let's put it on this one. That way we can see something that's not my face. Probably a breath of fresh air for you guys. Beep! And I'm an idiot. Look at all this. Look at all this stuff that I did that didn't get recorded because apparently somewhere along the way I just decided to accidentally stop the recording. And I just kept blabbing on. So I'm just going to reset everything here. So I downloaded this video from Pixabay. Apparently this is where I stopped the recording. So let's go back there. And what are we looking at here? See, look at all these tabs that I have open. So I actually might just close all of them, and then we'll just go again. So I think we were down, let's see, I think it was this one because we were talking about the frame rate. Okay, yeah. So it didn't automatically update the frame rate for me. So when I imported this in, and I just clicked and dragged it in, maybe, let's see, I'm just going to open up a new one, video editing here. Actually, I'm going to open up a new instance. Video editing. Okay, and make sure I'm still recording. Yes, okay. Maybe if I go to add movie, and then I import this in from here. Okay, yeah, so here we go. This is the notification. Scene frame rate set to 30. That is probably only going to be for the very first video, or very first image strip of anything that you put into Blender, maybe even audio, I don't know. It's just saying that it's created this new notification update. So it will do that for your frame range. It will also do that for the view transform. So if for some reason the view transform, if we go to render and you scroll all the way down to color management, here is the view transform, and that is standard. So if this automatically changes, it'll notify you as well. That's all that is. But coming back over here, if I press Alt-O, that's the whole video that's in here. So what I did was just, I cut it. And you can do that with K, and then just delete these with X, and then come over here, same thing, K, and then delete this one with X. So that's what I did. And then there's some other things we can do with this, which the next thing is the slip operator. So the slip operator was refactored, fixing many long-standing bugs and improving usability. I might actually find a different video because this video didn't have any audio. Okay, I think I finally found one. You can hear that. Let's download this one. Say thanks to Plastmarket. So there you go. Shout out Plastmarket. Go check them out on Pixabay. So I'll just put that aside here. Let's just drag this in here. There we go. Now we have that and the scene we can do later. So the strips in Blender are essentially containers for the media inside them. So you can slip the media inside the containers by pressing S. So press S, and if I move my cursor, nothing is happening right now because if you look down here, we have something called clamp. So I have to press C to disable clamp, and now you can see the media, both the video and the audio, is slipping or moving inside of that strip, the strip container. So if I cut this, so if I come over here, press K to cut, and maybe come over here, press K to cut as well, I can delete these and delete these. Now if I press S, I can slip straight away, even if I have clamp on, because now I have more room to move. And you can see these little strip things that are coming out with the video and the audio. This is the offset. So that's the full media being moved within the container, and you can see where the offset goes, where it's outside of that container. But the clamp prevents it from going any further than the start and the end of the containers. If I toggle C, then I can move them past the start and the end like that. So that's how that works. So you can also see that up here we have a slip offset with frames and seconds. Now that's actually not what I have here. If I press S, you can see up there it's slip offset, frames, and then sound offset, which isn't doing anything. It just sound offset stays 0. So I don't know if that's because when they were screen recording this was an alpha version or beta, but they must have changed something there, or maybe it's still a little bit buggy. So I don't know about that. We'll have to see. But that's essentially what they've updated the slip operator with. Okay, so next one, animation keyframes also move with the strip content when slipping now. This was also not working on my end. I can try it again. So if we have here the scale, so if we put a keyframe right here, let's say, on scale, and then over here, maybe then we scale it down and then add in a keyframe there. So here's our 2 keyframes, but if I press S to slip, those keyframes are not moving, even after I set it down. But it's the same. So it's from here to here. So that's definitely not working. Still a little bit buggy, at least from my user point of view. So I'm just going to undo that and undo all of the scale. The blade tool now has its own custom cursor. Okay, so this is this is something that a lot of Blender users probably don't know and probably don't even use. I don't actually use the blade tool, but you can find it over here. If you don't see this over here, press T while hovering over the timeline to see this blade tool, so you can click that. And now when you hover over a strip, you can see it changes the icon to a blade, which previously it was just a regular cursor, so you wouldn't know what was happening until you started clicking around. Okay, so now if I click, I can make these cuts. And then I probably would want to have this both selected first, and then the blade tool, then you can make cuts on all of them. I have never used this workflow. I have a different workflow that I use that's much faster, in my opinion. So, but if you do use this, then this is a little bit more intuitive because you now know, oh, I'm using the blade tool. I switched to this accidentally before and didn't know what was happening. And then after lots of painstaking time and research, I found, oh, okay, I need to switch back to the select mode here. Okay, so if a channel is locked, strip time panel is also locked. Okay, so first of all, locking. I don't use this feature really either. But if you select something, you can press Control H to lock it, or if you have a channel, you can lock it here with the channel. And what this is saying is that the time here is now locked with the channel. So if I unlock the time, well, I can't. So I'd have to unlock the channel so that this would not be locked. Or I could lock it here, and then you can see whatever selected is locked. The locking function just freezes it in the timeline. So Control H, lock it. Now I can't move it. If I select all of these and press G to move those, it will only move the ones that are not locked. Now, the reason I don't use this is because I can delete all of them, even the locked ones. And to me, it's not really worth it anymore, because the only reason I would lock something is to keep it in place and then not be able to accidentally delete it. So since I can actually delete it, then it's not really all that useful for me. But again, you can lock strips. Control Alt H is to unlock them, or you can lock channels. So if I have this, now I can't move anything on this channel, but I can move something on this channel. And if I move this up to this channel, once it's in this channel, now I can't move it anymore. So that is how that works. Handle selection is now copied to all strips, even if they are not connected, for the default simple tweak mode to improve multi-strip editing capabilities. Yes, I love this. And you can see this is actually what this is doing. It's taking the handle, and if you move the handle on one end of one strip, it will move it on the other. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I can go ahead and show you here. But again, they don't have to be connected at all. And I did actually, in previous versions of Blender, adjust the Keymap. You could actually adjust it to where the handle would move for both of them if they were both selected and if they were both the same amount of frames. So something similar to this, and then I could do that. But now if I have all of these selected and I take the end, it's going to adjust all of the end points or all of the beginning points. I really like this. This is really useful because if you have a setup, something like, this, you wanted to keep it in this same time, but you wanted to just adjust the end point to all of them or the beginning point to all of them. It just gives you a lot more power and control. Simplified cache settings. So just a lot more efficiency with cache. So primarily to make all the caching logic more understandable from a development point, but also from a user visible implication. So simpler and fewer caching options. Disk cache is gone. Primary reason because proxies are kind of the same thing, which is true, and I never used disk cache. So make a proxy, it's better. VSE cache size set in preferences is the actual size used for VSE caches now. So this, I guess, is I don't know for certain, but I guess the VSE cache size was just using an overall cache size of Blender instead of its own dedicated cache size. So I think it's now specific to the VSE when you're looking at the VSE cache size. And certain scenarios of cache invalidation are faster. I don't really know what that means. But anyway, here's for user interface. This is before and this is after. So you have the default before, and then you have developer extras if those are turned on. You have them. And then they've just simplified it. A little bit fewer options to choose from. Okay, renamed and cleaned up VSE keymaps to be more consistent with other editors. Changes were also versioned, so older preferences will still be intact when transitioning from 4.4 to 4.5, which I really like that. So essentially, this is just the nomenclature is more consistent. So sequencer common is now video sequence editor. And sequencer timeline tool is now sequencer tool. So you can see this picture here, sequencer common, sequencer common, sequencer preview. This didn't make any sense. I didn't, what is sequencer common? You know, what is it referring to? But now we have video sequence editor, video sequence editor. So where you would find that in Blender is if you go up to Edit Preferences and Keymap, then if you searched like sequencer, you would find this, and this is where it would be sequencer common here. You see that this finds sequencer and video sequence editor, but if I type in video, it doesn't find that. I have no idea why. Sequence editor. So it's still a little bit, maybe not all that refined, but it's definitely, the nomenclature helps to be more consistent. The sound offset property was moved to the time panel. Okay, yeah, so there, the sound, if I click on a sound, it used to say volume and then underneath it said offset. Now it's just moved down here where it says sound offset. And if you move that, that's like the S to slip that. So if I slip that, it's not really connected, and I'm not entirely sure why, because I can slip that, but then the sound offset is different. But this still says 0 seconds, which here I don't know how they're related. Let me zoom in here a little bit more. So I don't know how they're related. I can press S. That still says 0, but then I can slide this, and that's the same as the slipping. So yeah, that's a little confusing to me, but there you go. That's what the changes are. Scene strips are now invalidated when rendering scene changes. Now I don't know what the whole, again, invalidation means, but I think it has to do with updating this. And so this video here, if we watch that, you can see we've got, I think it's just updating it in real time. So if you change something in the 3D layout scene, it will automatically update that in your video sequence editor scene without having to manually refresh. I think that's what that does. But I did learn something earlier. Well, I recorded this already, but I learned that you can have 2 instances of Blender running the same type of thing. So if I go up here, well, let's make a new scene first. So I'll go ahead and make a scene, copy settings so that we don't have anything here. But then I have this layout where on scene 2, see, I already did this for like scene 1. Actually, let me just go there. So scene 1, I've already set up a scene with the camera and with the monkey head. And then if I do window and then new main window, now I have 2 identical windows for Blender. It's the same thing. But I can change one of them to the previous scene, which has my video editing, because this scene, scene.001, does not have my video editing on it. And in fact, I don't know why it's not changing to this should be the video sequence editor. Split the preview. And there's nothing on there. So this is the layout. So this is scene 001. This is our main scene here. And I brought in this scene. Here's our scene 001. So I added that by coming to add scene and then choosing the scene 001. And so now if I hover my cursor over that somewhere, and now if I make changes here, it updates automatically and I don't have to go to view refresh all for it to update. I think that's what that's talking about. So that's pretty cool. You can update that in real time. However, with the scene cache, here's your cache up here. And if I come over here and I press N up here to go to our view tab and then click prefetch frames, you can see it starts to cache in with the lighter blue up here, or purple, or whatever color this is, but it doesn't do that for scene strips. So if I move my cursor over here, you can see it starts to cache in everything that is a video strip or an image strip of some sort. So if I move it over here, you can see it does it for all of that. And if I Control E to refresh all of that, you can see it caches all of this in, but it does not cache in the scene. So even if I move it over to here and then Control E to refresh, it only caches in this. So scene strips are still not being cached in with the prefetched frames or anything. I'm not entirely sure why. So I don't know if that's something that they plan to do, or maybe there's a setting that I have to check. I don't know. But I do like how that automatically updates it like that. Okay, some things that have been removed. The timeline backdrop option has been removed, and we did talk about that. So that was just the backdrop that was the option here that you could have the preview area up here being overlaid on top or in the background over here. Change effect input operator was removed since it was identical to swap effect inputs. So there apparently it's just getting rid of redundancies. So if I added in a effect strip like a Gaussian blur onto this one, and then I right click effect strip, here we go, we can swap inputs. Yeah, it was just removing redundancies. So that's that. Overdrive effect and blend mode was removed. I think this is supposed to be overdrive effect in blend mode was removed, not and blend mode. It was doing the exact same thing as regular alpha over since 2006. Yes, it was. It was the same exact thing, and I always wondered, what's the difference between these two? Why do they have two of them? Usage of this effect in existing files is now changed to alpha over. So essentially, it's here's the blend mode, and if I have this, you can see that it is alpha over by default, and this is on the strip tab. So earlier Blender versions by default had this on replace, which means you wouldn't see anything below it, but also some of them had cross. So again, you can't see anything below it, but they had another option, alpha over. It was overdrop, and they did this exact same thing. Basically, you could see what was beneath anything if there was the alpha channel here, which is the transparency. But again, just getting rid of redundancies. Okay, so that was a little bit more time consuming, at least on my end, because I had to redo a lot of that because I accidentally stopped the recording. But anyway, those are the new video sequence editor features in Blender 4.5 LTS, which are really good. They're adding a lot more power, and I'm super glad that they are still continuing to update the VSE, because I think that does make them great competition with Adobe Suite and software. I also want to start getting back into some video editing tutorials, so hopefully you'll see more of that here in the near future. But go ahead and download Blender 4.5. If you haven't already, it's great. There's a lot of cool updates. Anyway, happy blending, and you'll see me in the next one.